Welcome to Joe Stunner Boxing. I'm ambivalent about Jake Paul. Well, in the sense that I've got two very contrasting views. Number one, I think his promotional endeavours in boxing are actually quite laudable because he supports women's boxing a great deal. All the fighters, male and female, that have boxed for him, they all speak highly of him. So you've got that side of it. He's a very good businessman. Obviously, he's captured the public's imagination. I do not pretend to understand why. It's a complete mystery to me why this guy is so popular. He was a YouTuber. I just don't understand it. It's his fame, his fortune. It just seems to me like the most bizarre thing. It's almost like when I think about it, it's almost like I'm listening to someone, speak, Russian or Polish or whatever. I just don't speak a word of those languages, so I don't pretend to understand anything that's being said. But he is popular. He puts bums on seats, he sells tickets and so on. Now, on the other hand, you've got his boxing career, if you can call it a career. Now, he started very, very late. Let's be fair here. He started very, very late. He's a very low-level guy. But in all honesty, he shows moves in the ring that he understands the technique of boxing. His footwork's too bad. He fires the punches correctly most of the time. But if you look at his record, it's so manufactured, you couldn't even begin to sort of try and decipher it and put any kind of positive spin on it. Because, first of all, most of the fighters he's fought are not real boxers. He has a loss to Tommy Fury, that was a split decision loss. Tommy Fury is area level, if that, at British level. Would Jake win an area belt if he was British? Yeah, he might do. He might do. Would he win an English title if he was matched right? Would he win a British title? I don't think so. But his career is so padded and ridiculous that it barely bears mentioning. I mean, he fought Tyrone Woodley twice back. It was about 4 years ago. Won a split decision in the first fight. Then he knocked out Woodley in the second fight in the 6th round. Woodley I'd never heard of. In fact, those are the only two professional fights Woodley had. Was he an MMA guy? Another one of these MMA guys? He's also beaten Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva was in his 40s, I think. Beat him on points. Beat Diaz on points. By the way, the Woodley fights, those are the only two fights Woodley ever had. So he retired with a 0-2 record. I mean, this is junk. This is absolute junk. And then, of course, there was one of the worst things I've ever seen in a boxing ring, which was Jake Paul against a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. My God. Just awful, awful. And sure enough, what do? They dug up the bones of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I'm quite surprised they didn't try and make a match with Senior, to be honest. But no, it was Junior, 39 years of age, came in with 54 wins, 34 KOs, 6 defeats. He's been stopped twice. He essentially quit twice, once against Danny Jacobs, once against Andre Fonfora. And, I mean, he's had 4 fights in 4 years, is it? Chavez Jr., lost to Anderson Silva over 8 rounds. My goodness me. And actually came in with, I think he'd won 3 out of his last 6, going back 6 years. Didn't look like he trained a day, Chavez Jr. There was this damning statistic at the end of this fight where Chavez Jr. had landed 68 punches, okay, in the whole fight. And 40 of them were in the last 2 rounds. Now, if I tell you that statistic alone, you will know that Jake Paul went on to win a wide unanimous decision. I had it in 98-92 to Paul. Chavez Jr. barely, he landed a punch in the first round at all. He barely threw punches. He didn't look like he trained a day. His body had that sort of soft look. Not fat, just soft. He's not a cruiserweight. He was there for the paycheck, essentially. Yeah, just woeful. Woeful stuff, really woeful stuff. He followed Jake around the ring. He was complaining constantly about low blows, punches behind the back of the head, all this crap, you know. And essentially, Chavez Jr. was bested by a guy who probably wouldn't win every white collar fight he fought. You know, there are white collar fighters out there who'd knock out Jake Paul. But it was what it was. I mean, it's a boring fight, very dull. You got the feeling you were watching something that was purely manufactured. And I mean, I'm saying all this, none of it surprises me. I wouldn't have watched it if I didn't run a boxing channel. I wouldn't have watched this video. Well, I wouldn't have watched this fight because I know some of you are into this stuff. That's fine. I'm not knocking you. You know, it's all stuff's there to be enjoyed, but I'm struggling to think of anything positive to say about it. I mean, Jake Paul boxed, you know, reasonably well, considering he was facing essentially a punch bag, that you know, an armless punch bag. But then in the last two rounds, Chavez Jr. sort of came to life a bit, especially in the ninth round. That was a good round for him. And you were thinking, why the fuck didn't you do this from the first round onwards, or from the second, third round onwards? The simple fact is, he wouldn't have been able to. You know, he had very, very little energy because he hadn't trained. He didn't look like he trained at all. He might have lost a bit of weight, and that was it. And Paul, I mean, one thing I'll say about Jake Paul is that he does, you know, take the game seriously in the sense that he does train. You know, you can tell by, you know, his footwork, his punches, the rhythm he can find. You know, he understands about range. He understands boxing. He understands the basics. He's not very good. He's a low-level guy, Jake Paul. He's kind of a gimmick, like, you know, Butterbean was 35 years ago, or the Harlem Globetrotters were in basketball. That's Jake Paul for you. But if he fights, you know, 58-year-old heavyweight champions or 39-year-old inactive underachievers, then he's going to carry on winning. And people, for whatever reason, and I don't pretend to understand it, they will continue to buy this stuff. I find it bizarre. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, if you like it, you like it. Look, all I've got to say, Jake Paul won this fight. So for me, he won 8 of the 10 rounds. If he ever fights anyone even sniffing at world class, he'll get flattened. But he won't. He won't, will he? He won't. And all this talk about I'd face Canelo and all. Oh my God, can you imagine? Yeah. Anyway, do you have any opinions on this? Do you care? I don't really. I'm doing this video, but I can't say I really care about Jake Paul's boxing career. But he, like I said, he is doing some good stuff for other fighters, for what I would call real boxers. Yeah, he's doing all right. You know, he's doing that as a businessman. Very good. Apart from that, as a boxer, low level, very, very low level. Anyway, if you've got any comments, leave them below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Bye for now.